Here to tell us his story about a rat infestation that is up close and personal to him is James Klein. He lives in the Côte-des-Neiges NDG borough. Hi, James.
Hi, Trudy.
Thanks very much for agreeing to come on the show and tell us about your situation, because it doesn't sound like a whole heck of a lot of fun. When did you see the first rat on your property?
We saw the first rat in early April. I was out one night walking my dog, and out of the corner of my eye, I saw a rat scurrying across the street. And then a few nights later, I'm sitting in my family room, which has a glass door out onto my deck. And out of the corner of my eye, I saw some movement, and sure enough, there was a rat scurrying right across my deck.
Since then, how has the situation evolved?
It's definitely gotten worse. There were times, especially in early spring, where we would see, usually at dusk, 6:30, 7 p.m., groups of them. At times there were 5 or 6 rats running through my backyard or a neighbor's backyard and up on my deck. And we reached out to the city, but unfortunately we haven't had any solution or even potential solution.
What do you think the problem is in your neighborhood?
Honestly, I'm not sure. I grew up in the neighborhood. I've been in my current house 21 years. Last fall, we had one neighbor who complained about rats in the neighborhood, and she actually circulated a petition that got a few hundred signatures that were presented to the borough. And essentially the only response from the borough was, well, when you see rats, please contact a certain gentleman in the Côte-des-Neiges NDG borough office, and also call 311 and make reports. And the question then arose, okay, we're making all these reports. What are you going to do about it? And that's when radio silence essentially kicked in.
At this point, what are your options?
Honestly, we're not 100% sure. Apparently, in the borough of Côte-des-Neiges NDG, we are not allowed to put out poison. If we were to just put out lots of traps, we could potentially reduce the population. But by the same token, nobody really wants to be going out into their yard to check rat traps on a daily basis and dispose of carcasses. Early on, I contacted Sonny Murrows, who's the borough councillor, and he actually came over one evening and listened to a bunch of neighbors complain about it and felt that he was going to raise it at a borough council meeting, which he actually did. On the Côte-des-Neiges NDG borough YouTube channel, there's a recording of their early May borough council, and he specifically said, okay, I'm getting complaints from people in the neighborhood. What can we do? And the borough mayor essentially passed it off to the bureaucrat in charge, who essentially said, well, we can't put traps out. We can't put poison out. If there are overflowing garbage cans, we can do something about it. But that's essentially it, which didn't seem like much of a response at all.
In your neighborhood, is there a problem with people putting garbage out inappropriately?
No, generally not. We're not far from Queen Mary, but generally our area is quite clean. There are some garbage cans near a school and a park that get emptied daily. So generally the neighborhood itself is quite clean. And having lived there, as I said, for 21 years, last fall was the first time we had heard anything about rats in the neighborhood.
So your path forward, it seems that City Hall is not being very proactive in acting, although your councillor seems to have gone to bat for you.
Yes, he absolutely has, but I'm not sure at a borough level what they can do. And from what I hear, there's certainly reports of lots of rats downtown and in other areas as well. But we've never seen it like this. We usually eat out on our back deck once a week. We have not eaten out there once the entire summer because I have no desire to sit out there and see the rats. I have a neighbor who has a thermal camera in his backyard, and he sent me a video which compressed about 25 minutes of activity into 20 seconds, and you can see the rats climbing on his garden furniture, his table, his barbecue, etc. So it's definitely affected our ability to take advantage of the neighborhood during our very short summers.
Are you tempted to take matters into your own hands, maybe hire an exterminator? Or
again, the problem is it's illegal for an exterminator to put out poison. So the only thing would be to have an exterminator come and set a lot of traps. But if that's the case, it would be up to us to check them and add bait to them. Otherwise, we would need an exterminator to literally come back pretty much every day to check the traps. That's how big the population is.
Yeah.
There's a school in the neighborhood. I have neighbors who walk their dogs in the evening, and they say after dark, they definitely see rats scurrying around in the schoolyard. School's about to start. I feel bad for the kids. Who knows where the excrement and urine is. So it's just not a good situation.
Do you think it's time that the city review that ban on poison?
I absolutely do. And, I'm an animal lover, so the thought of killing innocent animals isn't particularly attractive. But by the same token, they're vermin, and I should be allowed to enjoy my property and take advantage of the space that I have.
James Klein, thank you very much for joining us to tell your story.
You're very welcome.
James Klein is a resident of Côte-des-Neiges, NDG, and his neck of the woods grappling with what sounds like a substantial rat infestation.